Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. In this video, we're going to learn these 4 tools together. The first tool is the Blob brush. Unlike the Freehand tool, which only draws strokes, this one is a brush that draws both strokes and fills. As you can see, I'm doing a quick drawing with it as an example. You can also change the size of your brush here and make it bigger or smaller. The next option is the Use Pen pressure, which is for tablet pen pressure effects. If you don't have a pen, it's better to turn this off. Auto stroke draws a stroke around the shape, but if I draw 2 shapes on top of each other, you'll see they don't merge together. But if I enable merge stroke, this feature activates. Just make sure that if you don't have a stroke, you can set one up from the style window like shown in the video. As you can see in the image, the shapes merge together. But any shapes drawn before enabling merge stroke won't merge with these shapes. The next option is Draw Behind Stroke. When it's enabled, it draws the fill behind the stroke, but this isn't really visible to the eye. The next option is Smoothing. As you know, when smoothing is on, it makes the lines you draw more affected by the previous ones, especially when using freehand. The more you draw, the more the smoothing affects the lines you've already drawn. Let's check it out together. The next option is the eraser. As you can see, it doesn't have any special settings, but you can enable Use Pen pressure for the brush and change its size. Just keep in mind that to erase any shape, you need to be on its corresponding layer. The next option is Point Reduction. Let me zoom in a bit before we dive into it. For example, I'll draw a line using freehand that has a lot of points. To do this, I'll set the smoothing on the freehand tool to its lowest setting. Now, using the point reduction tool, I can optimize the number of points. However, I wouldn't recommend using it for shapes that are too complex. The next option is the Scatter brush. With this option, we can use the built-in brushes of the software, or we can create our own custom brush. I'm testing a few of the software's default brushes right now. But with the Use Clipboard option, you can create your own custom brush. Let's say you have a shape like this on the page that you drew yourself. Now, we'll make a copy of it. Now, if you go to the brush and select Use Clipboard, you'll see your custom brush. As you can see, I've turned my shape into a brush. The first option in its settings is Angle Jitter. As you can see, the angle of each of these shapes in the brush is different. To change this angle more or less, you can adjust the Angle Jitter value. You can see that when I set it to 0, they all draw the same. Exactly like the original shape we had. The spacing option controls the distance between these shapes. If it's set high, the shapes will be farther apart, and if it's set low, the shapes will be closer together. Alright, I'll switch it back to its default setting. The next option is Fill Color, which is currently set to 50. I'll set it to 100, and as you can see, when I draw, it will make the color darker or lighter, depending on the brush based on the color I've selected. But if I set it to 0, all of them become exactly the same color, with no difference. It's the same for the stroke. Let's test it together. You can see that when it's set to 100, the changes are more noticeable. But now that I've set it to 0, all the strokes are the same color. The next option is Flip X. If I turn it on, the shapes will flip along the x-axis, as you can see. If I also turn on Flip Y, the shapes will flip along both axes, causing the distortion you see. If I set the angle jitter to 90 degrees, this distortion reaches its peak. The last option is Reset, which returns everything to its original state. The next options are Min Width and Max Width. If the distance between them is large, the size change of each shape in the brush will vary a lot, but if the distance is small, there will be no size change. As you can see in the video, if you're interested in animation, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.